Hi folks, Josh Knight the First here with another episode of Writer Rebuild, coming to you with episode 9 of the series. Let's get right into it. So this week on Kamen Rider Build, we have a ton of revelations to go over. I was waiting for a lot of questions to be answered, and it seems like this episode was everything that I was waiting for, and there's a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and get into what it actually means to delve into this idea of the Build project. So as we're told in a video by Katsuragi himself, Project Build was originally designed by Faust, by Katsuragi, as a weapon for war. Now this, of course, like I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, goes back to the original series. Kamen Riders were initially intended to be bad guys, not good guys, but it's all a matter of how you use what you have at your disposal. This is a theme that will go on throughout the episode, but at least at the beginning we need to know that Katsuragi is the one who came up with everything, the full bottles, the look of Build, the implementation of Rabbit and Tank to begin with. It's only later on that Sento made the little changes to it, in that the build driver can now call out best match, but otherwise everything is being attributed to Katsuragi's invention. Now the other thing that we're given access to is this information on what exactly the hazard levels mean, so now we can go ahead and break this down here. Apparently hazard level 1 means that if you're exposed to nebula gas, you will apparently die from it. Level 2 is what will allow you to become a smash, so any smash that we've seen thus far, those people have been level 2 hazard level. 3 is the level at which you can be exposed to nebula gas and not become a smash. You have the potential to become a Kamen Rider at that point. So we know Ryuga, he's been gradually getting closer to that, as the flashback with Bloodstark tells us, so we know that's coming very shortly, the time when he will become a Kamen Rider, and the scans that we just got recently confirm this. So we get through all of that exposition to ask the question, well, who exactly is the bad guy here? Now, of course, Sento is on the side of science. Science all applies to the invention. How people implement the invention, that is really what tells the tale. But for someone like Ryuga, he only sees anybody that was involved with it had something to do with it, and therefore they are at fault. So if you invented the thing that was used badly, then it's on your head as well. Really, this is kind of the Iron Man argument. If Tony Stark makes weapons, then is he a bad guy? Maybe, but if he decides to clean up the weapons, then he's a good guy. It's all in how you use the weapons, correct? That's the same kind of argument they're applying here to Faust and the use of the build system. Now, there's more of that argument later on in the episode, but we do want to go ahead and get into the introduction of some new players on the field, namely this new person, Nanba Jusaburo, who is the head of Nanba Heavy Industries, and if you'll notice from last episode, that's the company that Katsuragi's dad worked for before he started working on the Pandora Box project, and of course before he unfortunately took his own life. Now, we're told that Nanba is a very powerful man. He has connections to Nanba Heavy Industries and of course to Faust as a whole. He seems to be a contributor financially, but has other machinations going on in the background, more of which we'll find out later on in the episode. But it's interesting that we're seeing that we've got another player in the game that's of a higher stature. It's nice to see that we're still seeing the hierarchy of who's doing what, and everybody's out for their own gain here. We don't exactly know why he's paired up with Faust, just that he has bad intentions. Now, for the last several episodes, the focus has been on Ryuga and Sento, and I was wondering if we were ever going to get back to Misora as far as any character development goes. Well, looks like we're getting that in this episode. Now, it starts off as a very nice gesture on the part of Ryuga to take her out for the day since she doesn't really leave the cafe, turns into a lot of exposition about who Misora is, namely the kind of personality she would like to have and what she was doing prior to the series beginning. Now, she does apparently want to be more carefree, more easygoing, much like her internet personality Mitan. Well, it turns out she doesn't have a lot of room for that given what happened with the skywall. We're told that when the skywall raised up, for some reason she was knocked out for 7 years, kind of a Sleeping Beauty sort of case. When she awoke, she was captured by Faust and given the gold bracelet that we've seen on her wrist. Apparently that is what attributes to her being able to purify the essence of a full bottle. At the rate of 1 week of sleep for one full bottle, that seemed to be taking a lot of time out of her life until Sento came along and made the microwave porta potty that we see every episode, which basically got it down to just a night's sleep, which is better for her and she can lead more of a normal life. So this kind of changes up the dynamic here. We thought Misora herself was special, but now it's apparently this thing on her wrist, so it's based more in technology of some sort, not so much a special person, which makes me now wonder if her father actually has some sort of device on him that allows him to do the weird thing we saw him do that one time. And I'm starting to wonder if we're ever going to get back to that, but given all the answers we're getting in this episode, I feel certain that we will get that answer, just not today. Now, along with these revelations comes the idea that she was worried that she was doing the wrong thing by helping purify these bottles for Faust. Now, thankfully, she did have this conversation with Sento where he reiterated to her the idea of it's not what you have, it's how you use it. And if you're using these for good, then it's a good thing that you're doing. Along with what Misora is saying about Sento's mindset about the whole thing, we also see that Ryuga's doing things, albeit abrasively, for the right reasons. He wants to avenge his fallen girlfriend. I like that here in the conversation we're revealing some things about our main characters here, that at heart they both have motivations that make them writers, that make them common writers going all the way back to the originals. One is fighting for justice, the other for vengeance. Sento wants justice. He wants to see things justly used for the right purposes, for the betterment of mankind. For Ryuga, it's all about vengeance, but righteous vengeance. He doesn't want anybody else to fall prey to what happened to his girlfriend, and much the same, that's something close to him. Much like the writers of old, where they had family members fall and they wanted to avenge them, same thing lines up for Ryuga. Now, of course, while all this is going on, we see that Faust still has moves to make, namely that they want to go ahead and push forward this idea of war. They want to start having the different factions fight amongst each other to bolster their own gains. This, of course, going back to what Nanba was talking about earlier on in the episode, and we see all of this going around in the background. So the goal here is to take full control of the Pandora's Box. Now, at this point, yes, Faust does have a lot of access to it, but they don't actually rightly have it in their grasp. They're in the government, they aren't the government. That distinction has been made. So it's time for them to go ahead and make their big move. Now, because they're making this big move here in the episode, the debut of the new best match for Build, Lion Cleaner, kind of falls short, especially when, one, again, the fight was very short, and two, the powers aren't exactly wowing me. All Build had to do was suck him up, like we've seen him do before, and shoot off some sort of energy blast, which isn't really lion related, it's just kind of a weapon at random. Now, what I do appreciate is at the end of the episode, when Build does eventually defeat the smash that's in front of him, he's starting to realize just how short he's falling of the mark. Because one, he realizes that the smash was somebody he was working with this entire time. Two, that he's falling into Faust's plans, working with them every step of the way, not realizing that he's helping them. And three, they tell him that Katsuragi is alive. Now, like I've been theorizing for weeks, I figured Katsuragi couldn't be dead at this point. His dad, I'm starting to wonder as of last week, but yeah, it's no surprise to me that Katsuragi is still alive, given how much screen time he's getting for being a dead guy. Now, what I wasn't expecting was this reveal that Sawa is actually working for Nanba, and therefore working for Faust, gaining intel for them about Build. Now, on the one hand, yeah, that's a pretty big spoiler, so good thing I left it for later on in the video, but you can look at that one of two ways. Either one, Sento really doesn't know how deep he's into this thing with Faust, and two, what's really the point of getting the intel on him? Faust knows everything about him. They've basically orchestrated all of his moves without rightly moving him physically. So does it really matter that they've got somebody there gaining intel on him? They've got as much eyes on him as they can. Is she really giving them any new intel is what I'm wondering. And we're going to be getting a lot more into this in next week's episode when we see that Faust is still trying to take Pandora's Box, and we're going to ask the question that I've kind of been wondering, is Bloodstark's identity actually Katsuragi? So yeah, this is a big episode to take in, kind of a pivot point for the series. I was wondering what was going to make me, dig in for the long haul. This was the episode that I was waiting for, so I'm happy to see that it finally came along. There's a lot of answered questions, but a lot of new questions that we've gotten. I'm wondering about where they're going to go with this whole Sawa thing, if they're just going to keep her around for a little bit longer, or if she'll actually become a monster at some point. As well as Katsuragi, is he Bloodstark, or will he become one of the riders we know is coming down the road? We don't know yet. But I do want to see the answers to these questions, which is why I will keep watching. But of course, those are my thoughts in the episode. I want to hear what you guys thought, so let's go ahead and talk about this. First off, Misora. Do you think it's cool that she's got this sleeping beauty aspect to her now and that we got it fleshed out? Or do you think that they should have waited a little longer to tell us more about her backstory? Secondly, Katsuragi. Like I've been asking for the last couple of weeks, did you guys think he was dead, or did you think he was alive the whole time as well? And thirdly, Sawa. Did you guys think she was going to turn on Sento, or did you think she was good the whole time? You tell me in the comments below. And of course, during the week, you can always talk to me over on social media. Over on Twitter, I'm at JoshKnight1st. This has been episode 9 of Writer Rebuild for episode 9 of the series, The Trap of Project Build. I'm Josh Knight the First. I'll see you guys again next week.